Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren, and today I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to enrich and stimulate your dog's mind. So before I get into this, just wanted to apologize for the lack of production quality I've got going on here. Currently, this is being filmed during the whole COVID pandemic, so I'm also pregnant and I do not want to go to my studio to film, so trying to stay safe and got this old school setup, but don't worry, I will go back to some better looking videos here in however long this stuff happens, I don't know. So this video sort of came about from quarantine, and I would say that we quarantine our pets every day, and being in quarantine with them has only made me realize this. And so, you know, when we go out, when we go to work, when we go out and play, you know, our environment changes, it's stimulated, and it's different. And being in this quarantine, we've all had to definitely deal with the fact of we have to be in the same spot every single day, and we go stir crazy, and it's hard to deal with. And so during this time, I've been very much empathizing with my pets and trying to remember that this is their lives every day. So when we think about really enriching our pets' lives, you know, first off, we obviously think about a lot of the physical things that we can do for them. Playing with them outside, going on walks, all of that good stuff. Now, this is already assumed that we are doing this with our pets. I want to take it a step further and talk about that mental stimulation that we can be giving them as their owners. Now, mental stimulation, I think, is important because it's about providing variety for your pet's day. They're probably very used to a certain schedule that you're on, or maybe not, but when they have variety in their schedule, when they have something different that they're doing at different parts in the day, it makes life not so mundane. They don't go crazy as much, and they're just more stimulated. So what happens when boredom sets in with our pets is they start acting up. That's when you get dogs chewing things, that's when you start getting them scratching things, that's when they start fighting. And that's when a lot of people start calling me as an animal communicator. They're like, why is my pet doing this? They're peeing everywhere, they're fighting, they're chewing holes in the walls, you know, all of that stuff. And so when I read for these animals, sometimes it's as simple as, oh, your pet is just bored. He needs something more. He needs to be stimulated. And sometimes going on walks is not enough to break that up. You have to keep their environment interesting and different, especially if you are living in a small space. The answer to a lot of these readings is so simple, but it's hard for me to sometimes communicate it to everyone because it's little things that you have to do every day. It's kind of going out of your way that is a little bit of an inconvenience, and it's easy to forget, it's easy to put aside, but to your pets, it makes a world of difference. So I'm going to get into my 10 tips of how you can stimulate your dog's mind. So this is Ash. He is my husky puppy, and he's going to help me demonstrate some of these ideas. So the first tip that I am going to give is to rotate your dog's toys. Say he's got 10 toys. You know, he doesn't need that many at a time, but split them in half. Put one half away in a closet or somewhere that he's not going to see them, and then switch up the toys. So maybe after a month or two, swap out the new toys and show him, and it's like brand new toys. And so this is something different. These are different things that he can play with, and it just keeps things fresh and new versus having him inundated with all of the toys all at once, because he'll get pretty bored of those pretty quickly. But if it's like Christmas every month, it keeps things interesting. My second tip is one of my most favorite things to do to stimulate my dog's mind, and that is to cut a tennis ball. So what you go ahead and do is you cut a tennis ball open just a little bit. You want them to be able to get into the tennis ball, but you want it to be difficult. And you fill the tennis ball with some sort of treat, and then you give it to your dog, and he's got to figure out how the heck to get that treat out of the ball. And you can buy some tennis balls to do this. You can also use like a paper towel roll. That they might just tear up the paper towel roll in like 2 seconds, so that's why I like tennis balls, is they're a lot tougher. But this is something cheap and great that you can keep around the house. And when Ash is antsy, especially at nighttime, and I'm just wanting to relax, I will go fill up one of those balls and give it to him, and he'll go take it into a carpeted area and just chew it and try to get the treat out until he is successful. And sometimes that takes him a while, but it's forcing him to figure out how to press on it, how to step on it. He's got to figure out how to get that treat out. So he's using his brain, he's using his mind. It's not just a physical task, it's a mental one as well. My third tip is to give your dog frozen treats. So I created these frozen treats that I got off of another YouTube video. These were specifically to deal with bad breath. But giving your dog some of these that are frozen while he's sitting outside is something that is easy to chew on. It's good for his teeth. And it just keeps him occupied and is something new and is something different, versus just him sitting outside, hanging out, waiting for you to come home. An alternative to this, you can also do a Kong ball. So the Kong balls, you've probably seen them, the red balls. You can fill it with peanut butter, you can fill it with treats, you can fill it with whatever. Anything that takes your dog a while to chew on, to eat, to lick, something like that. It's going to take up their time. Their whole focus is going to be focusing on this treat or this ball. And I think with the mental stimulation part of things, it's about wasting time. It's about letting their brain focus solely on something so that they can pass the time. My fourth tip for mental stimulation is cuddling in bed. Or if you don't like your dog on your bed, cuddling on the couch, or just picking a certain time of the day that you are spending one-on-one time with your dog. Now, again, this isn't physical. It seems like just a little thing, but our pets love spending time with us. And if they can look forward to that moment in the day where they know they get to cuddle with you for like 2 or 3 minutes, for our dog Ash, it's at the end of the day on the bed. I know it's mentally stimulating to him because he's sitting there. It's something different from his normal routine. He's not just sitting around all day, every day and being ignored by his owners. He knows that there's a certain part of the day that he gets one-on-one time with us. My fifth tip, this is one of the easiest ones to do, but I started to realize this at the beginning of quarantine. Normally when I left for work, I would keep all of the shades in the house closed. If it was warm enough, my dog stays outside, but if it was cold, he stays inside. I realized he was staying inside several days in a row with the shades closed. But as quarantine started happening and I was around more, I left the shades open during the day and let the sunlight come in, and the cats especially loved this because they could sit in the sunshine, and it just gave a different atmosphere to the house. It wasn't as sad and sleepy. It's bright, it's fun. And so I think changing up your environment in your home just by literally opening or closing the shades is enough for your dog to have a little bit of a different environment. And I think this is especially important if your dog is indoors a lot, and maybe you can't leave them outside while you go to work. Make sure some days that you leave the windows wide open, and some days maybe you close them all, just to provide that variety. My sixth tip, especially for the summertime, is to get your dogs a pool. Only pull this out every now and then. This shouldn't be an everyday thing, because if it's an everyday thing, it gets unimportant and they start to ignore it. But you can go to Walmart and get like a $10 little kitty plastic pool and fill it up with water. I've done this in past summers. I haven't been able to get a pool yet because I haven't been able to go to Walmart. But this is such a great idea for when your dog is hot or when he just wants to play in the water. I think it's a very fun idea that you can pull out every now and then. Tip number 7 is a frozen bowl. So this is a little bit different than the treats or the Kong ball, because you're basically taking a huge plastic bowl, you're filling it up with water and filling it up with treats, and then you want to freeze it. And the goal of this is to basically create this big ice block with treats inside that you're eventually going to give to your dog, and they've got to sit there and get the treats out. So it's sort of like that tennis ball, but it's just a little bit different. It's something you can put outside on a hot day to not only cool them off, but give them something mentally to do that they have to work through and focus on in order to get those treats. Tip number 8 is taking your dog out somewhere special. And this is not just your normal walks. Like, walks should definitely be something separate. A special place should be somewhere you go maybe once every couple of weeks or something. And maybe you take them to a local patio and they hang out with you while you have a beer. Maybe you take them to the dog park. Well, unless you go to the dog park on a typical basis, I wouldn't do that. But somewhere special. Like, for example, we take our dog every now and then to Starbucks and we get him a puppuccino, which is just like a cup with whipped cream in it. And so we ask him if he wants to go to Starbucks and he gets super excited. And this is something special. It's different. We're not going outside, but he's getting to do something exciting. Other things you can do are go out and get him ice cream. There's places with like dog ice cream. Again, it's something special that only happens every now and then, but when it happens, it's like the biggest deal ever to your dog. Again, and it's just about providing that variety during the day. And if you ever feel like, okay, I've been working all this week and I haven't been paying attention much to him, that might be a great day to do that sort of special outing. My 9th tip is probably my biggest tip for mental stimulation, and that is training your dog with tricks. Training and doing tricks are super stimulating because your dog has to pay attention to you. They have to remember what the commands are. They have to do the commands, and they have to sort of curb their enthusiasm so that they can get the treats that they want. And when you're training your dog, this requires a lot of their mental capacity because they really have to be paying attention to you when they could be doing, anything else that they want to do. So when you're training new tricks, really this should only be done in like 30-minute sessions so you don't wear your dog out. But if you've already trained them quite a bit and you're just doing some routines every now and then, you can kind of go through all the tricks that they know, and that's just something to keep them mentally there and with you and doing something different. But if you've trained them and maybe they've gotten sort of bored of doing the same tricks again, try training some new tricks. My final tip, of course, is going to be animal communication related. I think that one of the things that we can do to mentally stimulate our pets is to talk to them. Talk to them telepathically, using our psychic ability. When we talk to our pets and we communicate with them, we can figure out what's going wrong. It's so much easier to ask your dog, what's going on? What can I do? What do you want? And it's very easy to give them what they want when they are very good at communicating with you. Ash knows that I'm an animal communicator to some extent. He knows that I listen. And it's funny because he'll stare at me to get my attention sometimes, and then he'll sort of put a thought in my head. And it's very easy because then I know, oh, he wants to go out. Oh, he wants food. Oh, he wants Starbucks. And that happens a lot. So when you know how to communicate with your animal in that sense, it's honestly a lot easier to solve all of these problems and to keep him stimulated because you have that back and forth communication. So if you want to learn how to communicate with your animals, I've got an animal communication course that I'm currently editing. It's going to be up soon. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, it's already edited. And if it is, you can see that in the description below. So thank you guys so much for watching these tips. I'm curious, do you guys have anything else that you do to mentally stimulate your pets? I know that you can certainly buy toys out there that make it hard to get treats and stuff like that. I tried to make all of my tips things that were easy to find or do around the house that were cheap. But I'm very curious what you guys do out there to keep your dogs sort of just mentally stimulated and not going crazy throughout the day. So I hope these tips were helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember at the end of the day to trust your intuition, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.